attempting to find a spot that I can just park, and I was in the mood. I was up early. I figured why not do this. So it may be a little dark, and I do apologize, but I am driving, so I clearly cannot hold my phone. So I figured I'd just do a live and see what happens. If anyone happens to tune in, that'd be fantastic. It's so early, it's still dark out. It's tough to find a spot where there's light. So I promise you, I got pants on. Anyways, hope everybody's having a good morning. If anyone happens to tune in, oh my gosh, it's so dark. Why is it so dark? I can't see. But trust me, I am driving. There was one parking spot I went to yesterday. I might have to go back there. So let's see how busy the streets are going to be this morning. And I gotta try to keep my phone charging too. It's at like 46%, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it keeps going back and forth between charging and not charging. So, but I figured I was up early, and this is honestly the best and only time that I can really do any videos, whether it's live or an upload, because there's 4 people where we're living, and it's very hard to get time to yourself, put it that way. Oh, and I better slow down because I don't need to be getting myself a ticket. Anyways, so here we are. Feels like it's more like a downtown area than anything. But yeah, good old Leduc. Keeping it under the speed limit. This is nice. This is good. Stay the course. Stay the course. Now we're coming up to a red light. This is so fun. I love talking to myself. I don't know. It's still early, so a lot of people are probably still sleeping, and I don't know if everybody gets notifications whenever I go live or anything. They might just go to YouTube, and it might be a suggestion. I have honestly no idea. But anyways, can't believe it's already the middle of August. It's the 12th or 13th or 14th. I've honestly lost track. I took a couple weeks off of work, so dates mean absolutely nothing to me. Message is held in for review. Okay. So, for those that just tuned in, I am currently trying to drive, which means I can't have my hands on the phone. So I'm trying to get to where I need to go, my destination. Trying to get to my destination, and then I can hopefully park the vehicle. Just I went to 2 spots. There was very, very little to no light, so I figured I'd just go to my spot that I was at yesterday, and then I can do another live. But I figured, why not test out my driving skills and show on the internet that I can drive? Woo! Hope everybody's having a good morning. And as per usual, I got myself another free drink. You go there so many times, they end up just giving this shit out for nothing. So if I get the biggest drink, I'm getting the tallest drink. Or if I'm getting a free drink of any size, I'm claiming that ish, to say the least. All right, now I just got to make one more turn, and I believe I'll be in the same area as I was yesterday. Cool, got a green light, so I should be good to go. Maybe I'll just start doing videos where I'm driving. That would be fun. Not. Hopefully the phone doesn't fall. Okay, we're good. See, we're getting it a little bit lighter. There's a few lights around here now. This is good. So I'll have to read your comment when I park. I can't read nothing right now. Okay. So I think, oh, look at all the light here. This is paradise. It's like I struck gold. Look at all the light. You're going to see my face here in a couple of seconds. Woo! This is awesome. I want to park over here. I got a whole parking lot all to myself. This is great. Look at this. Don't got to worry about being parked in front of a store. I can literally just park right here and everyone can see me. Woo! Here we are. All right. J message retracted. Cool. Have I farted today? Of course, everybody farts. Anyways, here we go. Another beautiful morning, and it's starting to feel like fall. And I've always said this, and anytime anyone's ever asked me, I love when it's cold out. I'm not a fan of heat. Don't like it. I sweat. I stink. I'm just a hot mess, and it's just uncontrollable. It's like I'm a humid heat pump. It's just boiling right out of me. So, not a fan of heat. I love the cold. I'd much rather put on a jacket, put on a sweater, which I don't have either one of those on because I'm just enjoying the nice cool morning in a shirt. Anyways. All right. So yesterday we went on and talked about football. What I want to do today is talk about the other sport that I love, which is hockey. I mean, being a Canadian, it's in your blood. If you don't play it, you watch it. It's one of the two. Sorry, I can't read what crown number one. Okay. Not sure what that means, but thank you if that's a compliment. Anyways, I'm going to start on the east side. There's two divisions on the east, two divisions. You hear about what the racist idiots in Peterborough? He was a hockey player. I have his racist attack on my channel. Oh, wow. I was a hockey player. There you go. See? Hello, Ali Craft, if that's your name. Anyway, there's two divisions in the East, two divisions in the West. Defending Stanley Cup champions are the Florida Panthers. I think they got a very good chance to three-peat this year. It would not surprise me at all. They've made it to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, which means they are legitimate, and they don't have like the big superstars. Yes, they have like Sasha Barkov and obviously Sam Reinhart's proven to be a very good player. Matthew Tkachuk is a game changer to say the least. So they have decent players, but they don't have like an Ovechkin. They don't have like a Crosby. They don't have a superstar on their team. If I'm not mistaken, I think the only person that makes over $10 million on that team is like Sergei Bobrovsky. So he's the first $10 million goalie to get a Stanley Cup to his name. Everybody else in the past either didn't have the money or they didn't make it. So I'll give like my little assessment was Carey Price. I loved him. But unfortunately he didn't win a Stanley Cup, only went to a 1 Cup final. And that's a story for another year or that's a story for another time, to say the least. But yeah, I think the Florida Panthers, they definitely have the biggest chance to go back and three-peat as Stanley Cup champs. A very good team. For the most part, they brought back everybody. They may have just had like one goalie change as a backup, but for the most part, they brought everybody back. And they had 3 big free agents, and Aaron Ekblad, Brad Marchand, and Sam Bennett. They all could have went to any other team and made more money, but they decided to take like a home state discount to stick around in Florida. So I really think Florida is going to be a very good team next year. I don't think they really care if they finished 1st or 5th in that division. They know they have the depth. I mean, back in 2023, every single series they were away from home. This past playoff, every single series they were away from home. So home ice advantage means absolutely nothing to them. So I really see them being as contenders, not just this year. They could make it to another Cup final in the following year, but I think they are the definite threat in the Eastern Conference to become or get to a Stanley Cup championship. After that, really, it's wide open. I guess I'll start with the Atlantic since I've already started with Florida, but I think that Toronto, they'll be back there. The one thing with the Leafs, though, is like they haven't gotten past the second round. So can you really call it a success if you're only making it to the first round and losing, or making it to the second round and losing? It'd be different if they're going to like the conference championships year after year or the Stanley Cup final year after year. Then you know they have a good enough team that can get there. But for the most part, they've been overpaid, and this is just coming from a Habs fan perspective. Anyone can critique me, and they can whatever I say. I'm not always right, but they've just been paying a lot of money to the core 4 at the time. Now Marner's gone into Vegas. Spoiler alert. But I just don't see them being a threat. I mean, they might they could, and the worst part is they finished first in their division for the first time since they've been in the Atlantic. Well, technically they were in the Atlantic before, but that's back in like 2013. But in the new version of the Atlantic Division, this is the first time they were ever champions. So that means they had home ice advantage for the first 2 rounds, and they could not take advantage of it. So it just goes to show that they've been inconsistent. Granted, they made the playoffs, so I mean, they're good, but until they get over that hump, I don't know if I'm going to really consider them better than like the Panthers. Because if they have to play Florida again in the playoffs, whether they're home or away, I don't think it's going to matter. Because like I said, Florida, they were away for every single series in this past playoff run. Home ice meant nothing to them. Hello, Salamaz AA, if I said that name correctly. So Florida's definitely a very good team in the East. They should get back. Toronto's good enough to make the playoffs, but they have to prove to me and their fan base and literally everybody that watches hockey that they're competitive. They can make it to the Final Four. Once they get to that next step, then you can say, okay, they're legit. They are contenders. But if you keep getting bounced in the first or second round, you're not a contender in my mind. You're good enough to make the playoffs, but that's about it. Tampa Bay. Now, this is a team that really surprised me last year. After they lost their captain, Steven Stamkos, and it was for the most ridiculous reason. He wanted a fair rate for a long term. They didn't give him that, so he signed that same exact contract with the Nashville Predators. Then they gave Victor Hedman, the defenseman, the money that Stamkos wanted and the years of the contract that he wanted. So, like, they could have easily signed Stamkos, but they were clearly petty. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe they were just trying to make some financial decisions. I don't know, but when you have that guy who only played for one team, who wanted to end his career with Tampa, and he bounces and you give his contract to somebody else, that's pretty much like an FU to their face, in my opinion. So they could have signed him maybe for a little less, but not. There's no reason why. I mean, I don't know. I thought that was just a crazy situation. It'd be different if Hedman asked for less money, but he asked for the exact amount of money that Stamkos asked for. So the fact that he is the captain now, he's the future, whatever it is, but I mean, for how long? Because he's getting up there in age too. He's got to be in his 30s, if not 30 by now. Anyways, so yeah, Tampa is good enough to get into the playoffs again for next year. So those would probably be my 3 teams of the Eastern Conference for the Atlantic Division to make it in the top 3 spot. Now there could be other teams that could surprise us. Maybe Tampa falls to a wild card spot. Maybe Florida falls back to a wild card spot. Like I said, it doesn't matter where Florida finishes. They're going to be competitive. They're going to hit you. They're going to bruise you up, and they're going to beat you down. That's just the style of hockey that they play. And I mean, there's a reason why they went to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. So Florida's always going to be there. Tampa and Toronto, those should be the top 3 teams to make it into next year's Atlantic Division top 3 selection, whatever you want to call it, for the playoffs. But again, don't be surprised if one or two of those 2 teams bounce or fall down. Then you could have a team like Ottawa, who's clearly trying to take steps to go in the better direction. They don't want to just make the playoffs and then go back to missing it. They're good enough to make the playoffs. They've learned from their series against Toronto what it takes to be competitive and how to win 4 games. They almost pulled off the reverse sweep. They were down 3-0, and then they won games 4 and 5. But unfortunately, they failed in game 6 at home. So they definitely want to prove to themselves that they're good enough to be not just in the mix, but maybe even be a little bit more competitive and possibly jump up to a top, like a 3 spot in that division. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say the least. After that, my beloved Montreal Canadiens. Here we go. The pride and joy, bleu, blanc, et rouge. If you don't know, like, that's my team. I've literally got a banner and I got jerseys all around my little room. I got a tattoo. I'm all out, man. Like, they're my ride or die. Anyways, the only thing that troubles me is I don't know if we're going to get lucky and get 5 teams in the Atlantic back in the playoffs again next year. It's tough. It took us till game 82 to get into the postseason, so you're not guaranteed to have the same success the following year. Like, you could, I would not be surprised if they were the team to drop out and another team were to come in, because right behind them you got Detroit. They're still competitive. They're still trying to get back into the playoffs for the first time since 2016. You got the Sabres, who took a step back. We'll say that, to say the least. but they are a team that should be back on the rise. It's been 14 years since they've had postseason hockey in Buffalo. I'm sure they would love to end that drought. It's the longest drought in the National Hockey League, by the way. And then after that, you got 5, 6, 7, and Boston. So Boston, for me, they're probably in like a retool / rebuild kind of thing. They still got David Pastrnak. They still got a few veterans on that team, Charlie McAvoy as well. So I don't see them cutting ways or cutting contracts with those guys. It was kind of, now this is going to sound messed up because I don't like the Bruins. I can't stand the Leafs. But it's going to sound kind of messed up. But like seeing them plummet last year was like, holy cow, because at some point they were in a playoff spot, and I thought they were going to get back into the postseason, even as a wild card team. But they just kept losing, and then they ended up finishing last in the division. So it was kind of sad. And part of me is like, really, are you going to say it's sad for a team you can't stand to not miss the playoffs? But it was just, I don't know, just the way it felt, like how the cookies crumbled, and obviously having to trade away their captain, Brad Marchand, to a division rival in the Florida Panthers. I'm sure that didn't sit too well, but they obviously got something back from that trade. They're not going to give him away for free. So it was an odd year if you're a Bruins fan, because you're so used to making the playoffs. If you're not in the top 3, then you're at least a wild card. So for them to miss out was pretty big. So I don't know if they're going to be able to make it back. So the Bruins, I'd say, are likely going to miss the playoffs for the second year in a row. That's just my prediction for now. After that, it could be, like I said, Buffalo. They could still be close to the bottom of the standings. Detroit, if they're injury prone or not playing well, they could finish third to second last in that division yet again. But those two teams should be more competitive this year. I would expect maybe Detroit to end that slump. I know when I made my prediction last year for hockey that I said Detroit would end their slump. They fell just short. I think they finished a couple points behind Montreal, if I'm not mistaken, for that fifth spot in the division. So they're good enough to try to compete and get back into the playoffs. If I had to make a prediction or make a bet between the Red Wings and the Sabres, I'd give the edge to the Red Wings. I'd put my money on the Red Wings. Just because Buffalo's been so inconsistent for so long, and 2 years ago they were like this close to making the playoffs. Last year they went down in the standings. So it's for Buffalo, it's like a wave. They can go really high, but they can go really low as well. So it's tough if you're a Sabres fan. I'll give you props on that. So those should be the top 5 teams. I think should be still there. From Florida to Montreal, but again, don't be surprised if Montreal takes a step back. They shouldn't. Realistically, they should be better, especially after they added Dobson and Zach Bolduc. So they should be better, but I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit finished ahead of them in the standings, or if there were 4 teams from the Metropolitan Division that make it in next year, because normally it is 4 and 4. Otherwise, it'd be 5 and 3 for teams that get in from each division. So that's my prediction for the Atlantic. Now the Metro, this for me could be anybody's year. I was expecting New York, the Rangers, to finish first again last year. They missed the playoffs completely. They didn't have a good year at all. It was very shocking, very surprising, and especially when you got a talented goaltender in Igor Shesterkin. That guy's a brick wall, and if he's having off nights and his team can't recover from that, it's going to be a long year if you're a Rangers fan. But I would expect them to be more competitive. I think they realistically should be closer to a wild card spot, because the top 3, it's going to be hard for them to catch the top 3, and I will get to them in just a second. But for the Rangers, I really believe that this is a year that they got to prove to themselves that they are better, and it's inexcusable to miss the playoffs, because they're an original 16. They're so well regarded, well known. They have one of the most famous arenas in all of sports, you could argue, in Madison Square Garden. So like it's big in New York. So if they miss the playoffs, then that's big news, you know what I mean? Anyway, so the top 3 teams that I think could be competitive next year, I think the Hurricanes, I guarantee they'll be back in the top 3 spot. They're competitive. They've made it to They made it to the Final Four this past season. 2 years ago, they made it to the Final Four. Ironically, both against the Panthers, only winning one game in a 9-game span, I believe, because it was 4 and 5. Yeah, 4 and 5, so 9-game span. So I think the Hurricanes are pretty much a lock to get into the playoffs next year. There's no question about it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sabres surprised. Like I said, they could jump up. They really could, but I don't know. They've just been so inconsistent. Only time will tell. I'm not going to say they're going to miss it. They could easily finish ahead of my team, for God's sakes. It wouldn't surprise me. Anything can happen. So yeah, getting back to the Metro, I think the Hurricanes are guaranteed to be a lock to get into the playoffs next year. After that, I'm going to say as long as they can stay healthy, and the New Jersey Devils, they basically made it in limping into the playoffs because they lost their best player in Jack Hughes, and that pretty much derailed them. And then Luke Hughes went down in game 1 and never returned from the playoffs. So losing those two guys, those two brothers on the team, really hurt them. Markstrom could only stand on his head for so long, and evidently they lost to the Hurricanes in the first round. So I think as long as Jack Hughes can stay healthy and this team can play as good as they were before he got hurt, they should finish in the top 3 as well. So I think for sure the Hurricanes and for sure the New Jersey Devils should finish in the top 2, or at least the second and third spot respectively in that Metropolitan. Now the first place, I was very surprised about Washington. I didn't think they were going to have the season that they did. I really did not. It surprised the hell out of me, and then finishing with the best record in the Eastern Conference. So therefore, had they made it to round 3, they would have had home ice advantage. Didn't matter who they played. They were able to defeat Montreal in the first round in 5 games, made it look pretty easy. And then in the second round, they got bounced by the Hurricanes in 5 games. So, tale of 2 teams. They look so dominant in round 1, and then in round 2, they just look absolutely deflated. So, it's kind of strange. And the fact that the year before that they barely made it into the playoffs, and then they got swept in round 1 against the Rangers back in 2024, I believe. So, and then before that, they missed the playoffs for 2 years. So, like, they're very inconsistent. I know that they want to push to try to get another cup because Ovechkin, I believe, is going to be 40 years old, if not close to 40 years old by the time this season is said and done. So, therefore, they know his playing days are... his window is closing, to say the least. So, they're going to try to be competitive. I see them making the playoffs, but I don't know if they're going to finish first. I think last year... yes, they added having the addition of Logan Thompson as your goaltender really improved the team, and I guess he did play better than Darcy Kemper did. But can they really get back to first place in that division? I really don't know. I really don't think so. It's too close to call, and I'm not a betting man, and I'm not putting my money on Washington to finish first in that division. I think it'll probably be the Hurricanes. If the Rangers could surprise a lot of people and play better and more consistent, maybe they could finish first. The Devils could take another couple steps forward and maybe they finish first, but like those would be the 4 teams I would say have the best shot at finishing first in that division. Outside of those 4 teams, you're looking at the Penguins, the Flyers, the Blue Jackets, and who am I missing? I'm missing another team. So Columbus, Philly, Pittsburgh. Oh my gosh. Islanders. Yeah, Islanders. There we go. Those are the 4 teams. I don't see any of those 4 teams making a whole lot of noise or being that competitive. I think like the Islanders could finish 4th. They could finish potentially ahead of the Rangers. They could, but who knows? Like I think those 2 teams are likely going to be like 5th and 6th or 4th and 5th in that division. And then the bottom 3 teams between Philly, Pittsburgh, and Columbus. I hate to say it, but maybe Philly or Pittsburgh finishes last in this year. Again, there's just so many good teams, man. Now maybe Philly could take a step in the right direction and try to end their playoff drought at 4 or 5 years. Maybe they finish ahead of the Islanders and Rangers respectively, but I don't know. It's a tough division to call. Like anyone can finish anywhere at any point in the standings. Hell, the Hurricanes can finish in last place if they really struggle or get injury prone, or any team could. So there's no like guaranteed like they're the odds-on favorite to get into the first place, second place, third place, fourth spot, whatever you want to call it. So I just think it's tough. Like, Columbus was almost good enough to make the playoffs last year. Had they won one more game, they could have been in that fifth, or they could have finished with that second wildcard spot ahead of Montreal. They literally just missed out on the playoffs by just one win. So they could surprise teams as well. Maybe they finish fourth or fifth, but I don't see them finishing last in that division. I'm willing to say that I think the team that's going to be the worst next year are the Penguins. They are 100% in a rebuild, but they're in so much denial. It's crazy. They have to accept that they're like core players of Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby. They're all way past their prime. Now, Crosby's still playing at an elite level. Malkin still can't put up points if he's consistent, and Letang is a very good veteran defenseman, but it's turning into like a younger generation of players. So guys that are in their early to mid-20s, this is like the core time. Like, this is their prime of their career. Like, this is the best they're going to be. And you can't be expecting guys that are 40 years old to be the best players on your team. Like, you got to have somebody else take the next step up. Now, obviously, had Pittsburgh not traded away Gensel, he would have been their superstar going forward, but they evidently couldn't agree on a contract. Therefore, he got traded to the Hurricanes, and then for the Hurricanes, they traded him to Tampa. So, when I look at the roster for the Penguins now, I only know a handful of players. I couldn't even tell you who the hell half these players are, because they're all just new, upcoming guys. Like I said, outside of those three guys, yeah, they got Erik Karlsson. Tristan Jarry, I think, might be their goaltender, unless they parted ways with him. But other than that, I couldn't read off these names and be like, oh, I know who he is. Nope, no clue. So I think for the Penguins, if they... because I don't know whose contracts are coming up between Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, but someone's contract has to be expiring either next year or the year after. You got to think about maybe moving on from these guys, giving them a chance to succeed somewhere else, because the Penguins are not going to finish ahead of the Hurricanes. They're not going to finish ahead of the Devils. They're definitely not going to finish ahead of the Capitals, as long as the Capitals can stay and play the way they did last year. You're sure as hell not going to be finishing ahead of the Rangers. You're not going to be finishing ahead of the Islanders, and Philly and Columbus. That could be two other teams that are ahead of you in the standings. I would be very shocked to see Pittsburgh do anything, because it feels like they missed the playoffs for the past 4 years. 23, 24, sorry, past 3 years. 23, 24, 25. And it's a shame, because you were so used to watching them for so many years make it, go on playoff runs, win Stanley Cups, appear in Stanley Cup finals. So it was expected. But unfortunately, Father Time doesn't slow down for anybody. So, like I said, these guys, they might want to win together. They might win a few games together, but they're not winning a championship this year, next year, or whenever their contracts are up, or whenever they decide to retire. I think as much as I want these guys, I know these guys want to be faithful to the city. I'm sure they've done. I'm sure they've done something to cement themselves as Pittsburghonians, if that's what you call them. Like, they've been so dedicated and faithful to this city. They've been all there for 20 plus years. So they clearly like being there. And I understand that players would love in a dream world to finish your career with just one team. But if you want to have a chance to chase the cup, you're going to have to get traded. You're going to have to go to another city. You're going to have to relocate. That's just the name of the game. If your team is playing poorly around the trade deadline, it makes sense. Let's trade away some guys, get some draft picks, get some prospects, whatever you want to call it, because even if you traded a Crosby or a Malkin or a Letang, you're going to get a significant haul. Even though they might only be there for that one playoff run to help that team, you're going to get a significant haul. You're not going to get like a 4th round pick. You're not going to get a 3rd round pick. You're probably going to get a 1st round pick for the next 2 or 3 years if you're guaranteed to get a Crosby or a Letang or a Malkin on that team. Like, you're going to give up a pretty penny to get those guys, because they're still good, but they're not good in the situation that they're in, because, like I said, they're not going to be competitive next year. So you would honestly be better off just trading these guys, get it out of the way, even though they don't want to do that, and I'm sure they would rather stay. But I guarantee in the back of their mind, they're probably thinking, man, if I could go win a chip somewhere else, have another ring to add to this hand collection, I guarantee they'd sign up for it. But maybe they're just too faithful and they don't want to. Maybe there's a reason they have no trade clauses. Who knows? But for Pittsburgh, I hate to say it, but you're going to be missing the playoffs for 4 straight years. All right. Now, I spent half an hour talking about the East. I'll just talk about the West, and then I'll probably end this. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible. So I'm going to start in the Pacific Division. So the teams that won last year, or the top 3 teams in last year's Pacific Division, were the Vegas Golden Knights, you had the Los Angeles Kings, and then you had the Edmonton Oilers finishing 1st through 3rd in that division. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how the standings were again at the end of this upcoming season, because Vegas, especially adding Mitch Marner, they're a cup contender year in and year out. You can't deny that. There was just 1 year they missed the playoffs back in 2022. Otherwise, they've always made the playoffs. And this team's only been around for 7 or 8 years, and they have 2 Stanley Cup final appearances. How many Stanley Cup final appearances do your teams have in that 7-8 year span? Probably not as many. Anyways, so unless you're a Panthers fan or a Lightning fan, whatever. So I think Vegas, they're going to be very strong. They're going to be very competitive, and they want to get another Stanley Cup. There's no question about it. They're very, very strong. And even with the loss of Alex Pietrangelo for the season, and he might be done for his career, they still have a decent decor. Like, they still got Shea Theodore. They still got Brandon McNabb. They got Zach Whitecloud. They got so many good players on that team, and they're not like big name players. They don't have. You're not like the Erik Karlssons of the world, or you're not like any of the Cale Makars of the world. Like, they don't have elite players on that back end, but they don't need it. They're just that good. Like, I don't know. And then just looking at their roster, like, they still got William Karlsson. He's a veteran guy. He's been there, done that. They got Jack Eichel. He's an elite centerman. So, like, they're very strong down the middle, on the right side, left side, you name it. They're going to be very competitive, and I would not be scared to call them cup contenders. Not just this year, but like many years to come. They just have an amazing front office to get all these guys, little misfits back in 2017 when they became an inaugural season, and they got these guys together. They've been incredible ever since. So I think Vegas should for sure be the best team, or at least the favorite to win the Pacific Division for probably the 4th time now, or 5th time in their history. It's pretty crazy how successful they've been year after year. And then after that, LA and Edmonton, I wouldn't be surprised if they met for like the 5th year in a row. I feel like at this point, if you're one of those two players on those teams, or you're a fan base to be one of those teams, you know you're going to meet in the playoffs. There's just no avoiding each other. Like, it's just so comical that year after year, LA Edmonton, yep, LA Edmonton, yep, LA Edmonton. Okay, just pencil that in. They might as well just get the playoff bracket ready right now, and then just have those 2 teams 2nd and 3rd in that division. Again, it'll be a lock. I don't see any other team coming after them and taking over their little rivalry, which has been one-sided to say the least. After that, your 4th team could be the Flames, could be the Canucks, could be the Ducks. Like, there could be a surprise team that no one really sees coming. I still think the Sharks are going to be they're still in rebuild mode. So that's the Sharks, the Ducks, the Flames, and the Canucks. Yeah, those are the other 4 teams. So I really believe that the Sharks are probably going to finish in last place again. Sorry to say, but they're still rebuilding. They did add a few key pieces, so maybe they can improve getting a few more wins. But I just think it's just too tough of a division for them to make a lot of going up or climbing up the ladder. I just think there's just too many teams that they'd have to try to catch up. They'd have to be better than Anaheim. They'd have to be better than Calgary. They'd have to be better than Vancouver just to be in 5th place in that division. And I just don't see that happening. I don't see a scenario. And then you get the Seattle Kraken too. So I just think it's just going to be a really tough division for the Sharks to make a lot of heat leeway or whatever it is. So we'll see. If they surprise me and anybody else, any of the other experts out there, then go right ahead. But I just think there's just so many good teams in that Pacific Division that if they played somewhere else, maybe they'd have a shot at improving. But when you got to go up against the Vegas Golden Knights and the Kings and the Oilers, like, I'm not saying they're all going to be losses, but they're going to be very tough wins. So I think the Sharks are still rebuilding. The Ducks could surprise us. Maybe they jump up to 5th or 4th spots. The Canucks, maybe they can get better. They did add a few pieces, and they re-signed Brock Besser. Other than that, and then maybe, unless Seattle has improved, do you think? I don't know. Like, Seattle's been wishy-washy. They were fantastic in their second season, making it to the second round of the playoffs, but they've missed the playoffs 3 of the other 4 years that they've been in existence. So it's tough. They're a tough team to really predict and call. The last but certainly least, is the Central Division. And this is very intriguing because there's a lot of teams that will make noise, a lot of teams that should be competitive. And who knows, maybe this is the year that the Central team finally gets back into the Stanley Cup final for the first time since 2022, when obviously the Colorado Avalanche did. 2023 with Vegas, 2024, 2025 was Edmonton. So could 2026 be the year that a team from the Central Division finally cracks through and breaks that 3-year cycle? It could be, because there's a lot of good teams that are in that division. So first through third last year was Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado. I think for sure those 3 teams are guaranteed to be locked into the top 3 spot yet again. But the thing is there's so many other good teams, like St. Louis is right there. I think Nashville should be better. I predicted Nashville to make the playoffs last year, and I was made a fool of. And I think everybody predicted them to win, because when they went to sign Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos and Brady Shea, I was like, man, they're going to be cup contenders now. And they just didn't click. And it was the worst season I've ever seen from the Predators in years. So I think they should be a lot better than what they were. Maybe they finish ahead of the Wild in the standings, so they could finish as a 4th or a 5th spot. So there could be 5 teams in the Central, not just 3, that make it to the playoffs, or there could be 4 teams. So there's a lot of good teams in that Central Division. And then outside of St. Louis and Nashville and Minnesota, then you got Chicago, which is unfortunate. They're basically in the same position as the Sharks, where they're probably going to be basement dwellers for a couple of years. Now, I expect them to get better, especially when the salary cap goes up. I expect them to improve. There's no question about it. They will be competitive one day, but I don't think it'll be this year. And then, what team am I missing now? I feel like I'm missing a team. So I got Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado. I already said that. Minnesota, St. Louis, Nashville, Chicago. Why am I missing 2 other teams? Oh, crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm missing 1 or 2 teams. Anyways, whoever I'm missing, I apologize. Because it goes to show how much I really know. But yeah, I think that division is just so crazy and so tight. I couldn't even imagine who was going to come out of that. Dallas could win that division. Hands down, they should be the favorite. They have Rantanen signed for 5 or 6 years or something like that. It's a crazy long contract. They're going to be a very good team. Colorado, they are right there. It's just unfortunate that they have to run into either Winnipeg or Dallas, and Dallas has ousted them into the playoffs the last 2 seasons. Keep that in mind too. So I'm sure Colorado's got a chip on their shoulder as high as the Rockies that they would love to be able to remove and tell the Stars fans, your time is done. Now we're back into contention talk. But yeah, I think one of those 3 teams could get in. Winnipeg, they got a lot to prove. They really do. Even though they finished with the best record in the NHL, therefore they got the President's Trophy, they still have a lot to prove. The fact that they have yet to make a Stanley Cup final appearance in their 15 years of existence, the farthest they've ever gone was in 2018. They made it to the Western Conference Final, but then they lost to the Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games. And then ironically, they lost to Vegas in 2023 in 5 games. So if Winnipeg and Vegas ever play in the playoffs again, the Jets have to lose game 1. They have to. They've won game 1 in 2018, lost 4 straight. They won game 1 in 2023, lost 4 straight. So for the Winnipeg Jets, if you play Vegas, let Vegas win game 1. At least end the narrative. Maybe you can do a reverse sweep after that. I don't care. But man, I just feel so bad for them. Like every time they play each other, it's been the same outcome. Didn't matter if Winnipeg had a home ice advantage or Vegas had home ice advantage. I don't know. It's repetitive. So I don't know. For Winnipeg, yeah, like I said, they have a lot to prove. They have to make it to the conference final if they want to be able to say we're taking a step in the right direction. If they end it in round 1 next year or lose in round 2, it's going to be the same narrative. They're basically going to be like the Maple Leafs of the Western Conference. Yes, they're good enough to get in, but they can't make it to the core 4 or the final 4. That's bad news. And the fact that you have Hellebuck, who's one of the best goaltenders in the league, he's won now 3 Vezinas, or at least 2 Vezinas if I'm not mistaken, and league MVP this past year. He was by far their best player on the ice. He can't be. You need your players to step up. You need more goals. You need more consistency. You need to be able to say, we are good enough to make it to the Stanley Cup final. That is realistically their next thing, is they got to get to a Stanley Cup final. If they don't, you're wasting years, and you're basically pulling like a McDavid, where you have this talent on the ice and you have nothing to show for it. So that's all I got to say for the Jets. You got to get to the Stanley Cup final. No more just getting into the playoffs. Hooray, pat on yourself on the back. You got to get to the finals. So outside of those 3 teams, you got St. Louis. I think they'll be just as good, if not more dangerous next year. It's just, if they weren't in that division with the Stars, the Jets, and the Avalanche, they would for sure finish in the top 3 spot. It's just such a shame that they have to go through those 3 teams and have to try to win those teams against those teams just to try to stay close to them in the standings. And they went on a hell of a run at the end of last season, and that's 2 years. Back in 2019, that they were I think they were in last place in January, if I'm not mistaken. And then they went on this crazy run, adding Binnington to the roster, won the Stanley Cup, and then they had a so-so year this past year. And then after the 4 Nations, they took off. They were just red hot. They got into the playoffs. They pushed the Jets to Game 7, double overtime, by the way, so that game could have went their way as well. So they're a very good team. Jordan Binnington is a very good goaltender. There's a reason why he represented Team Canada as the starter, and then he won the championship. And so I got a funny feeling he's going to be the hands-on favorite for Team Canada at next year's Olympics, if he's not already a lock to be in. Okay, so outside of the Blues, that's the 4th team. You got the Wild and the Nashville Predators, which would be like 5th and 6th respectively. Minnesota, they are good, but they're still not quite there. They might be able to squeak into the playoffs. The key word is might, but I would expect there to be more pressure for Nashville to make a push and get back into the playoffs, unless they decide to trade away Stamkos and or Marchessault, which would be a crazy thing to do because they just signed them to contracts last off season. I think Nashville's going to be very good this year. They've learned their lesson. They don't want to be bottom dwellers. They don't want to have a nice pick next year. They want to be competitive. There's a reason that they signed Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. Both proven winners. Both have won Stanley Cups. Both actually used to be teammates at one point. But they want to be Stanley Cup contenders. They don't want to just be like, yeah, we got back into the playoffs. No, they want to get back to a Stanley Cup final. And in the team's history, they've only been to 1, and that was back in 2017 when they went on an incredible run. I think they were the number 2 wildcard team, and then they went all the way to the finals and played the Pittsburgh Penguins in the finals before losing in Game 6. Do you usually don sports reports alone in empty parking lots? Not normally, but because my house is full of people, it's hard for me to get any time to do anything at home. And so that's why this is probably the best option for me to do right now. Once football starts, I will be making videos like through the TV screen like I did before. But I just figured I have a couple weeks off of work. Might as well take advantage of the nice weather. So that's why I'm here. Anyways, so Minnesota, they're there, but they're not quite there. They might get back into the playoffs, but I would expect Nashville to be a little bit better. So Nashville could finish 4th next year. Minnesota could drop down to 5th, which would ultimately put them out of a playoff spot. And then after that, you got Chicago, who I think is still, like I said, they're still rebuilding. And then after Chicago, I'm missing a team. Why am I missing a team? It's going to drive me crazy. But whoever the other team is, I'm missing out. Oh, Utah. Sorry. Utah, I did not see them having the season that they did. I can't believe I forgot all about Utah. Now they finally have a name. They're no longer the Utah Hockey Club. They're the Utah Mammoth, which is a pretty cool logo and a pretty cool name. But I don't know. I think even though they surprised a lot of people last year, and they were, I think, 5th in the standings of that division, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact that they finished ahead of Nashville, well, I mean, a lot of teams finished ahead of Nashville, was show that this team's moving in the right direction. I just don't know if they're good enough to be in a contention spot. I still think they're a few more years, a few more pieces away from making some noise. Hockey is the worst sport to compare regular season performance to playoffs, just different seasons altogether. It's true. It literally is 2 different seasons, because if you watch a playoff game compared to a regular season game, there is such a huge difference. There's so much more physical contact. There's more hits. There's less penalties. It's more aggressive. You're going to have more not bench brawls. You're going to have more fisticuffs that happen after the whistle. It's incredible. And the fact that if you did the stuff in the playoffs during the regular season, a lot more people would be penalized and a lot more people would be suspended. There's no question about it. Yeah, I think Vegas is very good. They're going to be very competitive. Yep, Phil left. Yeah, of course. You just got to leave Toronto, and then you'll have some success. Yeah, there's 2 more. Bozak, yeah. Yeah, I forgot he went to St. Louis. Holy crap. No, it's all good. I can't remember who the other one is anyway. But yeah, I think Vegas, they're going to be probably the hands-on favorite to come out of the West. They're just too damn good. They are really. Yeah, you predict Vegas because of Marner. He's such a huge X factor for that team. He's going to be like he can play both sides. He can play the power play and the penalty kill. He's an amazing. All right, see you, buddy. He's an amazing player, and that's coming from a Habs fan. I don't like to praise a whole lot of Leafs players or Bruins players, but he is one hell of a player. He's the fact that, yeah, he's a difference maker. Like I said, I don't see Vegas just getting in and bouncing in the first or second round. They really are a very good team, and I can see them making it to the Final Four. I really do. Yeah, the Shannon plan was terrible. Signing Marner, Nylander, Matthews, and Tavares, 4 guys over $40 million of your cap, not to mention whatever Morgan Riley was making at the time. But if you got 4 or 5 guys taking up like 40 to 50% of your cap, you're not going to have enough room to get anybody else. That's why they literally were like a 2-line team. After that, if you can shut down the top 2 lines, then you're not going to do anything. Like your 3rd and 4th line aren't going to come through. And the signing of Reeves, now granted he got traded, the signing of Reeves made no sense to me. I get you want to have a physical guy on your team, but he can't really skate that fast. He's not there to get points. He's literally just there just to beat people up and fight. I mean, it's a fast-paced game. That really took them back, or took them back a year or 2. Yeah, they really have nobody. Like, they have nobody. You got rid of him. Now you're going to have Nylander play with Matthews. Before you had Marner playing with Matthews, and they had such a wonderful connection. Now you got another player, but again, outside of Nylander and Matthews, Tavares, yes, he did resign, but he's getting up there in age. He's got to be in his mid to late 30s, so he's on his last legs. He's not going to give you like 80 plus points. I'd be very surprised. Other than that, who do you really got? You got really nobody. Max Domi, what's he going to do? We tried him out for 2 years, didn't like him. We sent him away. So I don't think he's going to make much of a difference. So I don't know. I really don't know who they got. Like Matthew Knies is good, but he's not replacing Marner. Nobody's replacing Marner. So I don't know how they're going to fill that void, what they're going to do. Boston was one-line team when they were beating the Leafs with Bergeron, Marchand, Pasta. Yeah. That was a crazy line, too. And all 3 of those guys were making over $10 million. I'll tell you that much. It's pretty crazy. window down. There we go. All right, well, this has been fun. I did another like 50 minutes today. This is pretty fun. It's pretty cool. I know I keep saying this in a lot of the other videos, but I do, once, like I said, once the NFL season starts, I'll be uploading like crazy to get back into my usual views. I'm only doing this live, like I said at the start, because I got a couple weeks off. I figured, why not? Marner is Nicholas Backstrom level passer. He is. Nicholas Backstrom. Wow. Now he's in the KHL. Yeah, the Leafs screwed up on that one, didn't they? And I couldn't be happier. Oh, of course he is. Jack and Mitch are going to be a match made in heaven. Those two are going to get along so well. Like I said before, Vegas, they are at the ceiling right now. They have hit their ceiling of competitiveness. Year after year, they're going to be good. They're going to be great. They're going to be cup contenders. And now that they added Marner, like I said before, they are going to be the team to beat in the West. I think it's going to be very tough for any team to go into Vegas and win a 7-game series. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if it's the Oilers. I mean, let's be honest. Last year, they got ousted in 5 games. Didn't play that great. Now, granted, Stone was hurt for the last one, so he couldn't play a whole lot, and he was injury prone, to say the least. Or he's been injury prone. But who's really going to go? You think Dallas, maybe Dallas could possibly take him out? I don't see Winnipeg or Colorado beating them in the Western Conference Final. Well, we got to credit Nicholas for breaking Greker's record. Yeah, no kidding, right? The amount of assists he has to Ovechkin should be bowing at his feet, saying thank you, because if it wasn't for you and your passing, none of this would have happened. And the crazy thing is if you look at the list of players, like active players now, and the total goals they had, there's nobody catching Ovi. There's nobody catching him. Someone would literally have to start in year one. Like if there was a rookie that came in right now, and they'd have to score 50-plus goals for like 15, 16, maybe 18-year span just to try to catch up to Ovi. It's so crazy. I would love to know how many of those goals Nick got assists for. No kidding, right? Like I would love to know. A lot of them. There's a lot of them. It was so consistent, and especially on the power play, you know the puck's going to Ovi. So if Backstrom didn't get the initial assist, he would have got the secondary. But yeah, I don't see anybody catching Ovechkin. Certainly not in my lifetime. I think Gretzky broke the record back in the 80s. Yeah, because he beat because he took over Gordie Howe's goal record. Yeah, so, or maybe that was the early 90s. Either one. I was still the kid. So, who's my team? My team's Montreal. I live and die the Bleu, Blanc, Rouge. A lot of people can crap on them. A lot of people can say this and that. Look, I know my team. We don't have a big superstar. Like, we don't have an Austin Matthews. We don't have, like, a Brady Tkachuk. We don't have Connor McDavid on our team. But I don't care. We got a lot of good guys. And their contracts, I can't praise the GM enough. He's done a phenomenal job. Like, these guys could have asked for more money. They could have easily asked, like Nick could have asked for 10 plus. Caulfield could have asked for 10 billion plus. He didn't. They both settled for like 8.5, maybe $7.5 million contracts, and then getting Slavkovsky re-signed and adding Demidov, and he's still on a rookie contract for 2 more years. Like, I am so excited for this team to move forward, but I just know there's a lot of good teams in the Atlantic, and if the Metropolitan can get 4 teams into the playoffs next year, I don't have that very high a hope that we're going to take that step forward. I really don't. I wouldn't be surprised if we were out of the playoffs next year. I think it was nice to get in, but to do it year after year after year and be consistent, it's going to be tough. And especially losing like Christian Dvorak, he was an excellent penalty killer for us. I just didn't think he was worth $5 million. And then obviously with David Savard retiring, I'm not Italian, no. I should be. I feel like I would fit in. I talk with my hands a lot, I know, but no, I'm not an Italian guy. I look it. I eat like an Italian, but that's about it. But yeah, after losing those 2 guys, it's going to be tough on the penalty kill, and especially losing like Yoel Armia. He was an excellent penalty killer for us too, so I'm just curious who's going to take that next step forward, because you can't have Suzuki playing both power play and penalty kill all the time, because that's just going to wear on his body. No, that's the only thing we don't have. We don't have like an enforcer on our team. So if someone does get hit, the next guy up is probably still going to be as small to try to pick a fight. Like, the way I look at it right now is, I don't know if anyone, how far back you've watched hockey, or how far back anybody's watched hockey, but I remember back, I think it was 2012, and Montreal was playing Boston, and Chara just drove Pacioretty's head into these sideboards, and like Scott Gomez came up to skate him, and like the height difference was like this. Like, this is Gomez down here looking up at Chara. Like, what do you like? That's how I feel our team is right now. Like, we're good skill wise, but we don't have an enforcer. Now I get the league's trying to get away from that, but you still need a big guy. You need somebody that's going to stick up for you, and you can't have Arber Xhekaj do it, because the guy who broke his wrist 2 years ago, he could be injury prone, and you can't have a defenseman always jumping up and stepping up for your guy. They need a forward. They need Domi. Yeah, he ain't coming back, man. He's in Toronto, but I appreciate that. But like, we definitely needed someone like that. I know, like, I've said this for many years, like, Gallagher is like the heart and soul of this team, but he's not the type of guy that's going to go up against somebody that's 6 feet tall and try to throw bombs. It's not happening. Yeah, he has the speed to skate with the skill on that team. He does, but he's in Toronto. So, I mean, if he decided to leave and come back, I would welcome him back with open arms. But I don't know. Like, I feel like he wanted to play for Toronto because of his dad. So, I don't know. Well, we'll see how the season goes. If Toronto drops him, we can pick him up. How about that? The sun's starting to come up. This is nice. This is a good reason to buy the glasses. I saw Chara in Ottawa in his rookie year. He got an amazing after that season. Oh, of course he did. And the fact that he was drafted by the Islanders and the Islanders gave up on him, I guarantee they're kicking themselves in the pants for not holding on to him. And then he had a wonderful career with Toronto, or sorry, not Toronto, wonderful career with Ottawa, and then he had an amazing career with Boston, winning a Stanley Cup back in 2011. So I guarantee he's in the Hall of Fame. If he isn't, he's sure as SHIT should be. But yeah, he was a phenomenal guy, and he was just a freak athlete. I think he was Slovakian, and from what I remember listening to these reports about his like family history, and I guess like his mother or maybe both his parents were like gymnasts, and they also were at the Olympics and stuff like that. So he's got an athletic family, and he's just, even not on skates, he's a tower. Like, I'd have to look up to him. He's 7 feet tall without skates. Like, it's scary. And the fact that, like, normally when you're really tall, I'll just give you this one little example. I know it's two different sports, but I remember Yao Ming from like the early 2000s. He was a center for the Houston Rockets, and he ended up having his career cut short because he kept having leg problems, surgeries, you name it. So it always amazes me whenever I see taller athletes, how long can their careers really span? Because eventually your legs, it's like wear and tear on your legs, and especially hockey, because you're always skating. It's not like you're on a court or you're on a field where you're just running back and forth. You're literally on skates that are this tiny, like the blades are this thin, and you're trying to stay on like level. So I can only imagine how much more tense your body would be being on skates, especially when you're traveling so fast. Who's me to make those? Yeah, the Tuukka Rask one, I guarantee Toronto's kicking themselves in the ass for that one, because I think they got Andrew Raycroft out of that trade, and that was back in like 03 or 04. So that's like 21 years ago that happened. So imagine if they didn't trade him away. Oh man, it's just, imagine the career he could have had, and then obviously giving up Hyman. That was not a good move on their part at all. They really should have done a better job of re-signing him. And the thing is his contract with the Oilers isn't even that bad. Like, it's a very reasonable contract for the length of period that he wanted. So the fact that Toronto couldn't match that was really unfathomable. And that's going to be another decision that they're going to regret. If Hyman ever happens to win a cup with the Oilers, they're going to regret letting him go, just like they regret letting Phil go. I think his parents were Olympic judo participants. Yeah, so like athletic family again. I guarantee he probably trained like crazy. If you have parents that are in the Olympics or at least participants, you're going to be training just as hard as the rest of the Olympics. So just imagine his childhood being brought up and how competitive he would have got, or how competitive he would have been getting it from his parents after. I think baseball is harder on your knees and hips than hockey. Lots of gliding in hockey, not as much impact as the hoopers. Yeah. I mean, every sport's going to be competitive. Every sport's going to have its ups and downs. Like football, it's hard hitting. Like the whole purpose is to hit somebody as hard as you can. So clearly there's going to be wear and tear on your body, and especially if you get hit in the head, then you got to worry about concussions. I guess I can't really say that. I don't know. Everyone's got their different opinion. I'm not going to start something over this, but like I will agree that every sport will wear on your body somehow, some way. Well, this has been fun. Did an hour already? Holy crap, time goes by. Damn. Oh, this is perfect. Couldn't have picked better weather. At least it's not like 30 or 40 degrees outside. I'll take this. 6 o'clock right now. Any other questions? Any other comments? I feel like I'm kind of running out of things and my battery's getting low anyway, so. I keep thinking something's on my arm, but that's just your picture. I'm like, what the hell's on my arms? I keep like doing that. No, that's just the picture. Well, if you happen to be typing by the time I say this, I do apologize ahead of time. Hockey is hard on the groin, shoulders. Well, of course. Again, every sport's going to have its pains. I'm not going to disagree about that at all. Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing as an easy sport, especially when it comes to your body. But did I ever play? No, never played hockey. I played football, and I played baseball, I played soccer and basketball. I played everything but hockey. I tried skating when I was a kid, and I used to take lessons, and I still remember to this day that I can't remember if I was trying to skate backwards or trying to spin around, but all I remember was when I did try to turn, my body went forward and I smashed my face up against the board, and my teeth were bloody. I don't think they broke, but I think just because of the impact, I hit with such a force that my teeth, like, I started bleeding from the mouth. So I had to get off the ice, and then I'm waiting in the benches or on the bleachers to get picked up. And the one time that I can't eat or bite something, somebody's going up and down the aisles with candy. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Seriously? The one time I can't eat is when someone's going to give me some shit for free? So I thought that was absolutely quite ironic. I did skate a couple of other times after that, but I never really was that into it. Back in the 80s and 90s, wrists. In a way, I kind of wish I could have stuck with it. Now, obviously, I could just go buy a pair of skates and just start skating at any point in my time, but a lot of slashing not being called back then. Oh, of course, yes. It was so much harder back in the day. Like, you had wood sticks. Like, what they're playing with right now is definitely not as hard as what they did back then. Like, imagine taking a wood slash right to your wrist. You could break your wrist no problem back in the 80s and 90s, no question. The hits were so much more ferocious. The fights were even worse. I mean, you think the fights are bad now. Go back in the day when you had no helmets and people getting hit in the head all the damn time. Like, holy crap. People are scared about hockey being too aggressive. Wake up. It's not like it used to be. Good God. It's insane. Crazy times. But no, I did 1 year of baseball, 1 year of football, and if looking back now, I wish I could have stuck with football, but Canadian football is so much different than American football. I just really couldn't understand the rules half the time. Didn't know what I was out of position. I was just lost. So when I lose interest in doing something, I'm not picking it back up. But now looking back, if I had kept with it and done it more consistently, maybe stuck with it, who knows what could have happened. But that's the one thing that I probably wish I had stuck with. But when you don't understand what you're doing, you don't have much of an interest. The hitting in the 90s was a bit out of this world. A lot of players would hit with their helmets, throw their bodies. Yeah, exactly. It's more of a control. Yeah, of course it's more controlled now. I mean, you got cameras everywhere, so it's hard to get away with anything. Yes, there are going to be some calls that are missed because maybe the referees and linesmen are focusing on this and something happens behind the play. You really have no idea. But otherwise, you got 4 guys on the ice and you got cameras all over the place. So it's hard to get away with anything. But I find the players aren't prepared for a big hit because it's not happening as much. So when it does, it looks like a train wreck. Well, of course, we're so, and like the one thing that drives me nuts about players, and especially when players get hit from behind, is how many times have you seen a player look over his shoulder, see somebody's coming, and then they turn their face up against the window, so they're guaranteed to get the boarding call. So, like, I understand there's some players that are really aggressive, that are going to hit you no matter what, but there's been so many times I've seen a player, they're up against the board, they look over this way, they look over that way for a split second, and then they turn their head, and then you just see them get smashed up against the wall or up against the glass. They're baiting players into doing that, and that's the one thing that drives me nuts. Is like, if you're unaware of it, that's one thing. But if you're taking the time to look over either one of your shoulders and you see somebody's coming full barrel because if you have the puck, they can hit you, and then you purposely do that just to get a boarding call, like that's a little like, come on. Jagr was the best at taking or avoiding hits. Datsuk, not too bad either. Datsuk was a magician on the ice. I remember watching him even in his rookie season. I was just like, this guy's phenomenal. I can't believe how good he is. And then it's a shame he only had 1 Stanley Cup to his name because he deserved more. He was one of the best playmakers I've ever seen, and he could deke you out like there's no tomorrow. Like, I don't know if you remember watching this, but I know I've seen both these highlights. The first one was when he duked out, who was that? I think it was Thomas Vokoun. I don't know if it was a penalty shot or a breakaway, but like the fact he did the toe drag and he had a wide open net, like he humiliated him, and I think he did the same thing to Marty Turco. But I think that was a shootout, if I'm not mistaken. It was either a penalty shot or a shootout. But like, he was so slick with the puck. He was an amazing athlete, and he was just built differently. And it's a shame that he had to cut his NHL career early. And then, because I'm pretty sure he went to the KHL after he left in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. But he was unreal. If you're a goalie, like he just make you, he put you in your place, to put it that way. Kasparaitis was good at hitting from behind. Oh man, that guy was insane playing for. I think he played for the Islanders and the Penguins. I know he for sure played with the Penguins, but I'm pretty sure he played with the Islanders too. But he was dangerous. And if you recall that, you'd obviously remember like Nicholas Cronwell. That guy was just a train wreck. He would just derail you. And I remember when he knocked out, I think it was Marty Havlak from Chicago back in like 06, 07. Like, that was his trademark. And half the time he got away with it. You can't do that right now. You'd get suspended for an entire year. Turn his back last minute, tail, take the hit, fall to the ground, then get back upon seconds. Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Like, that's the one thing that drives me nuts. Is half the time they're not even getting hurt. So crazy. Like, I hate when players do that. Like I said, if you're getting hit and you don't expect it, that's one thing because you're paying attention to your puck. That's it. But if you're getting, someone's coming at you and you're like, I'm going to get this call. And then you get up 2 seconds after that, you're not hurt. You're faking it. I was at Joe Louis when he did that breakaway move the second time. That would have been insane to see live. That would have been absolutely epic. That would have been, I would have been like, oh my God, no way. He did that. So, Stevie Y, he was, I don't know, he was unreal. And the funny thing is Like, you don't really appreciate something until it's gone. And I remember growing up in the 90s, like I loved Montreal. They were always my team. And I was heartbroken when they traded away Patrick Waugh to the Avs. But when he got traded to the Avs, I was like, man, if this guy can win a cup, that would be awesome because he's one of the best goalies. He doesn't have the most wins or whatever it is now because Brodeur took it over. But like he was one of the best goalies. He was amazing. And I remember that Colorado and Detroit played like it seemed like every single season or every single playoff. And when they did, one of those two teams, whoever won that matchup, was more than likely going to win the cup. Because Colorado did it in 96, Detroit did it in 97, 98, Colorado in 2001, and then Detroit in 2002. So like in a 5 or 6 year span, it was just these two teams representing the West in the Western Conference or representing the West in the Stanley Cup Finals. So I remember I was just like every time they played Detroit, I'm like, please win, please win, please win, just for Waugh's sake, for Sakic's sake, because those are like my two favorite players from the 90s and early 2000s. I love watching that, and it was great hockey. And if you were a fan back then, oh yeah, that would have been nuts. And if you were a fan back in like the 90s, you would have remembered the hatred these two teams had for each other, and the infamous brawl, the Claude Lemieux boarding. That was a dirty hit. I will admit that was a dirty hit that Lemieux did to Chris Draper. And then after that, it was a war. These two teams hated each other. They fought. The goalies fought. The coaches yelled at each other. It was like old-time hockey. You don't get that anymore because it's more controlled, as you said. But just having that was what the NHL needed at the time because they didn't have the rivalries that they did, like the Avalanche and Detroit. It all started from one hit, and you can't deny that. When I saw the Datsyuk breakaway at Joe Louis, yeah, that would have been insane. To see that goal live, that would have been absolutely epic. But I just remember watching the Avs and the Red Wings, and yeah, you want to talk about two teams that they weren't sending each other Christmas cards. I'll put it that way. They did not like each other. Oh man, that was a fun time. All right, I'm gonna start heading back. I'll try my best to answer your questions, but I'll try. Who do you think wins? Oilers 84, Detroit 90s. I'd have to go with the. Oh, man, that's. Oh! Holy crap! I can't even answer that. I can't. Two legitimate, legendary teams, two of the best teams of their franchises, respectively. It'd be a 7-game series, but I couldn't tell you who wins. They both had playmakers. They both had Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famers. They both had excellent goalies. I'm not gonna deny that. Man, that's a tough question. I don't even think I have an answer for that one. I don't. But I know it would go 7 games. I know there'd be brawls. I know there'd be fights. I know there'd be high-scoring games. That's too tough for me to answer. I'm sorry. I would love to answer that question, but when you have basically like it's an old saying, an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. That's what that would be. The Red Wings of the 90s, the Oilers of the 80s. That would have been a epic showdown, to say the least. But I really can't answer that question. I want to so badly, but it's too tough to call. You could say the Oilers would win, but then you could also make an argument for the Red Wings. It's just too tough to call. That's an excellent question. You couldn't even, I guarantee you get an NHL expert to that question. They wouldn't have an answer. They wouldn't. Maybe statistics would show one team or the other, but realistically, I don't see that happening. Like it's too close. They're like neck and neck. Yeah, again, I'm not going to disagree. Like Detroit could easily have taken that matchup if they ever played. There's no question about it. McCarthy, he was the guy the Red Wings needed to step up, and if he didn't like something, he'd tell you what he was going through. He was basically like this Dave Semenko of his day. And imagine having Dave Semenko fighting Darren McCarthy. Holy crap. That would be a pay-per-view matchup just right there. Yeah, and they could score too because you had him along the lines with Chris Draper and Kirk Maltby. And those guys could play defense and play offense at the same time. So that was a terrific line. Mine was mean but could score. That's true. If I could go back in time just to watch any matchup at any point, that would be so. That would be, I don't know. It'd be interesting. Detroit Rush in 5. Oh man, and the fact that like they had 3 forwards and 2 defensemen that were all Russian. So like I think a huge advantage to having people that like their English is not their first language. That would be an advantage to you because the other team has no idea what the hell you're talking about. So I'm sure there is proper lingo that I should be using, but maybe I'm just ignorant. But if you got 5 guys speaking Russian together and you're on the opposing team, you have no idea what they're planning for. You have no idea what they want to do. They could all decide just to hit you. They could all just decide to skate around you, make you look like fools. Like, just, I don't know. Whoever did the drafting for the Red Wings back in the late 80s, early 90s, if they don't get enough credit today, they should. Like, that was just phenomenal. When you have Sergei Fedorov, you had Igor Larionov, if I'm not mistaken, and there's so many good players. It was just Kozlov, Victor Kozlov, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's so many good players. It was unreal. Sorry, I can't tell if you're writing anything, so just hang tight. I'm trying to get back home. Taking the Wings in the matchup. Yeah, anybody can make an argument for anything. Like I truly believe that if the Red Wings and the Oilers, those 2 decades made it, the Red Wings easily could go, but it'd be a hard fought series. You can't deny that. Got the radio on, but it's like very minimum. I don't want to. I remember I did a video from like many years ago, and I've told this story a few times that I was doing a live video, and it was so weird because I was watching the end of a game. Now, granted, there were things I didn't know at the time about restrictions, but I was filming the end of a game, and I remember the game exactly. I think it was the divisional game between the Vikings and the Saints when the Minneapolis Miracle happened back in 2017, 2018. And I got all the way to when the Saints scored on their last possession and took the lead. And then the video cut off right before Stefan Diggs made the catch, and then they had the miss hit from the defender. And my video cut off then and there. I then immediately got a notification from YouTube about how what I was doing was wrong, and I didn't know the rules at the time and what you could and couldn't get away with. So they banned me for 3 months from doing any live videos, and I was so upset. And then when I did make a video, I can't remember how to get into that account anymore, but I remember I'd made a video and I was going on a huge rant, but I just looked stupid because I didn't know what the rules were at the time. But I still remember I was like, are you kidding me? I couldn't even watch the Minneapolis Miracle happen before I got restricted, and then they shut me down. It was actually Ken Holland who went from scout to head scout, assistant GM, I believe. The full GM is like 3 or 4 years. Yeah, that's crazy. But Kyle's teams don't win. Yeah, they don't. And now he's in LA. He's in LA. And then the funny thing is there's I'm sure if you've been following hockey for whatever, that how Corey Perry, every time he goes to another team, they go to the Cup final and lose. So as soon as LA signed Corey Perry, they're like, okay, we're going to the Cup final, but we're going to lose. So that's Ken I'm thinking of, not Kyle, sorry. Anyway, I just got back. I appreciate all these questions and comments, but I gotta get back inside. If I happen to do another live video, hopefully get notification. This has been a lot of fun. I love interacting with people. Doesn't matter if it's one person or several people. This has been an absolute blast. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and tune in and ask questions and fire away. This has been a lot of fun. So, Uncle Tony, I'll keep you in mind the next time I do a live video. I appreciate this, buddy. Thank you.